Question number 8, Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Education. Why did she say yesterday that, quote, "we will not be interested in how we stigmatise children," end quote, as part of the school funding review, when she said less than a minute earlier that the current school decile system was unhelpful because it stigmatised low-decile schools?
The Honourable Heke Parata.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the full quote from which that is selectively taken was, "We will not be interested in how we stigmatise children. Rather, what we're trying to do is get the right resource to the right kid at the right time in the right dosage." Mr. Speaker, I've been consistent in stating that I do not believe that stigmatising children based on the community they live in, the decile of the school they go to, or individually would lead to good educational outcomes, and I'm surprised the member's promoting that.
Order.
Not at all. Supplementary question,
Supplementary
Mr. Speaker.
question, Chris Hipkins.
If she doesn't want to stigmatise children the same way low-decile schools are currently stigmatised, will she rule out attaching school funding to children with parents who have criminal convictions, no qualifications or rely on a benefit?
The Honourable Heke Parata.
Mr. Speaker, we're at an early stage in the process. At no point have I suggested that we will be individualising funding to follow a child on any basis. We are simply at the stage of exploring the options of how we identify what resourcing needs to go where in order for the size of that education challenge to be better met.
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Will she give an assurance that socio-economic factors will continue to be taken into consideration in any change to school funding, given the Treasury's proposed approach excludes socio-economic disadvantage as a funding criteria? If not, why not?
The Honourable Heke Parata.
Mr. Speaker, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Do any of the options currently being considered by the government link school funding to student achievement data such as national standards or NCEA?
The Honourable Heke Parata.
Mr. Speaker, we have a number of reports. They're ones that I'm going to be sharing with the teacher unions, with the professional association, with the sector as a whole, and we'll work our way through, and then I'll be delighted to share the outcome of those discussions with the House.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order. I'll just invite the member to repeat that question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Do any of the options currently being considered by the government link school funding to student achievement data such as national standards or NCEA?
The Honourable Heke Parata.
Mr. Speaker, there are no specific options currently under consideration.
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, Chris Hipkins.
Has she read the Ministry of Education's report from July 2013 that states that the performance-based funding model for charter schools, quote, tests a possible incentive model, end quote, and will she rule out that model being rolled out to state schools?
The Honourable Heke Parata.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's a long bow. A suggestion in a report in 2013 that related to a particular category of schools was the suggestion considered in that context. To extrapolate it into the wider mainstream system, because again, I am not ruling in or out any option at this stage, because it would be disrespectful to the process and the discussion yet to occur with the sector. No, I didn't do that.
Good question.
Supplementary question, Jenny Salisi.
How does she believe her approach to decile funding, where in her words, "we will not be interested in how we stigmatise children," benefit Pacific children, given the fact that 65% of Pacific students attend a decile 1 school, and her approach is likely to stigmatise many of those students?
The Honourable Heke Parata.
Mr. Speaker, in the primary question, I gave a response that made it clear I wasn't interested in stigmatising any children, whether they came from a particular community, went to a school with a particular decile, or individually. How do I think Pacifica kids can be helped? The way we're doing it now. We have more Pacifica kids in early childhood education than ever before, and we have more Pacifica young people getting our minimum qualification than ever before.
Question